You're watching the mainstream's exclusive chat series on the topic of building cyber resilience by addressing the complexity of crisis powered by Cloudflare. I'm Khushbu Soni, the founder of the mainstream, and I'm super excited to have our guest today. We have Mayank Gahlot, the Associate Director, Information Security at Perfios. Mayank is a seasoned cybersecurity professional with extensive experience in managing end-to-end security operations for medium to large organizations, and his expertise span cloud security, threat detection, risk management, and security framework implementation. He specializes in designing cyber crisis management process and conducting cyber posture assessments to strengthen the security posture for organizations. And he also collaborates with stakeholders to assess risk, implement technical controls, and enhance security technologies. Mayank, it is an absolute pleasure to have you today, and we're really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Khushbu, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm also super excited to, have this discussion, this chat on the hot topic on the cyber resiliency. Yeah.
Fantastic. I would also like to introduce our other speaker. Next speaker, we have Hitesh Pathak, who's the head of solutions engineering at Cloudflare. Hitesh comes with 25 years of rich experience in the IT industry, focusing on networking, cybersecurity domain, spanning enterprise banking and financial, commercial, select and mid-market segment. He's also worked with a lot of IT/ITS brands. His expertise lies in technology, pre-sales, leadership, and consulting. Hitesh, thank you so much for joining and looking forward to our discussion.
A pleasure. Thank you so much, Khushbu, for having me. I think looking forward to having this excited discussion with you for sure. So let's start.
Great. Like I said, we are talking about the very, very important and hot topic of building cyber resilience. And all of us have seen that, there is a lot of threats that are evolving every day today. And cybersecurity has become one of the most talked about topics today, especially with rapidly evolving threat landscape. So I wanted to ask my question to both of you to begin with. Maybe if you both can tell us briefly your perspectives and what makes today cyber environment so complex compared to previous years. Maybe we can start with Mayank and then come to Hitesh.
So I think, today's cyber environment is comparatively more complex than in previous years, and there are several factors to it. So one, I think the cyber attacks have become more sophisticated, and the threat adversaries, they are employing techniques like the APTs, and they are also leveraging AI nowadays, which is eventually helping them to bypass the security controls. And with this new remote work setup, hybrid environments, cloud, multi-cloud environments, right? So the entry points have increased significantly. So that's eventually, contributing to the increase in the attack surface. And I think many organizations are also facing a lot of challenges in allocating resources, both in terms of the budget and skilled personnel, which is the demand of the hour. And both of these are required to effectively manage and mitigate cyber threats.
Absolutely. Hitesh, your perspective.
Yeah, I think just to add what Mayank mentioned, absolutely, those are the critical points. But there are some more key reasons which I believe has contributed to this ever-increasing landscape to make it more and more complex. One of the things which I would like to definitely call out is the rise of cloud computing. I think very recently, and in fact, if I just talk about a decade back, right, companies were moving to cloud, and in the process, they realized that they are discovering new security challenges, such as data confidentiality, compliance, how can you have visibility and control after they move to the cloud, right? Second thing also, we believe that what has changed now is, as Mayank mentioned, the sophistication level of attacks have really increased to a level where we are not able to identify exactly that whether this is an attack happening on a ransomware side or a phishing attack, or even example like deepfake, right? We all understand deepfake is also taken example precedence in many of our lives. We talk about various ways of cyber threats, right? Which is also kind of adding to that. Another thing which is very important to also discuss is to talk about is the number of vulnerabilities that we see in the application side. And the reason is today many organizations, right, are using software and hardware which has not been patched for the years. And attackers are finding these easy targets because they know that certain applications have inherent vulnerabilities and very easy to exploit them to gain access. And that is where the whole challenge arises in terms of everybody running after the data. Right, so data is very critical and complex. That's the reason I believe that these are some of the things which has changed very recently, and why organizations are kind of not taking it to the way they should be, because they are in the race of going ahead and deploying something in terms of either competitive pressure or faster time to market, where there are certain steps are ignored, which basically calls for some more due diligence, right? So I believe these are the challenges that we see in the current growing threat landscape.
Sure, absolutely. Great. I think moving forward, I in fact would like to understand, Mayank, you've been, in this industry for a very long time. You have a solid background in managing both on-prem and cloud security. Can you tell us some of the unique challenges that, you face or you've seen industry face when it comes to securing infrastructure in the cloud versus on the traditional on-prem setups?
Sure. And I think that's a great question. It's a challenge I have encountered firsthand in my experience managing both on-prem and cloud infrastructure. When we talk about on-prem, security is more about controlling the entire stack. That means you're responsible for everything, like from patching servers to setting up firewalls and even the physical security of the data centers. And the one challenge with on-prem setups is the scalability part. So scaling up security measures often requires significant amount of time and resources. When we talk about cloud, so cloud is a shared responsibility model. Cloud providers like Google, Amazon Web Services, Azure, so they handle the underlying cloud infrastructure, while we are responsible for what's in the cloud, which is the cloud workloads, applications, the identities. So the challenge here is like this shared responsibility model, it may create confusion at times, right? If the roles and responsibilities are not clearly defined. Also, the dynamic nature of cloud environment, their rapid scaling up, scale down, and of resources, and all of this introduces a new set of challenges like ensuring consistent policies, managing identities, and monitoring for misconfigurations. So I think uh, transitioning from on-prem to cloud, the organization encounters challenges in translating existing security policies to the cloud native controls. And so, for example, network segmentation, which is a very straightforward thing in on-prem, needed to be mapped with cloud native controls like the security groups or VPCs. And to address this, we implemented a combination of automation of policy enforcement and tools like CSPM, which can continuously monitor and ensure that while this transition, there's no gaps introduced. So that's the approach which we have taken.
Great, great. Hitesh, you've been interacting with a lot of CISOs and information security leaders at Cloudflare, and you help organizations build resilience in the face of cyber threats. So, in your experience and with what you've heard from the industry, what are the top three strategies organizations need to implement to ensure that they are resilient in today's complex cyber landscape?
Absolutely. I think, it really starts with a commitment, not from the employees, but also from the top management, right? We have seen in many organizations, we always talk about the insider threat where the employees are accidentally clicking something and opening up the gate for the attackers. However, I strongly believe that it also has to be like a top management agenda as well to build a cyber resilience culture in the organization. Now, I will further simplify this and put that into three pillars. Pillar number one is, build a strategy around before the attack can happen, strategy around during the attack, and strategies around after the attack. So if I just talk about before the attack, what comes to our mind in terms of strategies that organization should have is to have a risk assessment and management. So when you say risk assessment, basically to identify and list down all the applications and servers and data that is available on premise, and have a look around whether it has got any inherent vulnerabilities like unpatched applications, software, hardware, or even for that matter, IoT devices also, right? And then another example is, how can you implement the right set of tools to prevent these attacks? So that becomes the pre-attack era. Then comes the preparing for the attack for tomorrow. Something like doing an attack. How do you prevent an attack when it is happening? So organization should be looking at, from a strategy perspective, a strong incident response, in terms of a solution, which will help them to quickly recover from the incident. There are enough examples where we have seen the longer it takes for you to contain an attack, larger is the damage, right? It could be in the form of either any IP, intellectual property being lost, or data being compromised, or company losing their their brand reputation. Correct.
Right.
And third, which is again another thing which I would like to talk about, is the after the attack. So, for example, creating awareness. We all believe that in any organization, the employees should be completely aware in terms of how should they not click on something which is coming to them as a part of email or as a part of an attachment, right? So basically, addressing the insider threats. So these are the three things I think from a strategy perspective, the organization should be taking care of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very aptly put three major areas. And one of the biggest is we all believe that employees is the weakest link. So absolutely, I think building that culture within the organization is very, very important. Absolutely. Mind the threat landscape is evolving and it's evolving rapidly. With attacks becoming more sophisticated, how do you approach risk assessments and attack surface management to ensure your organization's posture is future-proof?
Yeah, so the evolving threat landscape, requires us to go beyond traditional risk assessment and take a proactive and dynamic approach. So there are a couple of ways we can achieve this. One is on the continuity. So I think risk assessment are no longer once a year exercise. They has to be continuous and adaptive as well to account for the new vulnerability, new attack vectors as they emerge. The second thing is on the dynamic nature of it. So I think I would approach this by combining real-time threat intelligence and understanding the specific business context. It's about asking like, what are the most critical assets or the crown jewels any organization could have, and what are we trying to protect, and what are the most likely ways, they can be compromised. Third is on the prioritization. So we cannot treat all risk as equal. So we have to prioritize high impact risk, which can disrupt my business operations, can damage the reputation of the organization. They can compromise the sensitive data of the organization. So I think prioritization is also the key. And I think the last thing which I would focus is on collaboration, because I don't see security as a siloed function. I involve stakeholders across IT, DevOps, product compliance, legal, HR, and even business units. So that we ensure that risk assessment reflects the full scope of the organization operations.
Right.
Now, coming on to the attack surface, I think nowadays we have a lot of platform available which can help us map the attack surface. So the attack surface tools are available, and I think the key approach to this is reducing the attack path. We have to focus on principles like zero trust, the network segmentation, principle of least privilege. And I think beyond prevention, we can focus on the resilience part of it. So ensuring we can detect, respond, and recover from incidents quickly. So we need to test our, incident response plans, DR drills, more often, and implement a strong backup process.
Right, right, absolutely. Great. Hitesh, at Cloudflare, we all know that, Cloudflare is known for its ability to provide real-time protection and mitigating DDoS attacks and other threats as well. So, how do you see the role of AI and machine learning in proactive threat detection and response? And will this kind of replace the human intervention, or do you see the work best in tandem?
I think, great question. I believe even though we have a larger dependency on AI and machine learning technologies, a lot of organizations have started deploying this to their advantage, but it'll most likely going to be coexist along with human intervention, and that's the reason why I'm saying this. Let's say, for example, in the race of automating a lot of things, right? The moment to start implementing AI based decision making, right? We have seen that it results into false positives. It results into some uh, decision being taken, which can even possibly stop a communication, shut down a port, or have an adverse effect on the application side, which can possibly break the communication pattern, right? While in case of, let's say, if it's a more of a informed decision, human can add more intelligence to it in terms of course, there are certain part of the threat research can be outsourced to AI because AI is very good at data crunching, right?
Mm.
So the data crunching can be automated with the help of AI and machine learning because that is what the system is best to do prepare for. And when it comes to decision making in terms of implementing some controls based on the gap, that is where the human intervention will really play a very, very vital role. So I believe that both will coexist. Of course, some point in time, one or the other will definitely take the precedence. But it's best for both of them to coexist and then work hand in hand.
Yeah, I think this is a topic which is everywhere up on the news, and everybody's talking about who will replace what. But great, I think this is going great. I have a question for both of you. Looking ahead, what do you think the future of cybersecurity will look like in the next 5 to 10 years? And will there be a fundamental shift in how organizations approach cybersecurity? Maybe we start with Mayank and then Hitesh, you can take it up.
Sure, Khushbu. I think it's a very timely question. So I think over the next 5 to 10 years, I believe we will witness a fundamental shift in how organizations approach security. So moving from a reactive parameter-based approach, I think it will become more proactive and adaptive with intelligence-driven models. As Hitesh mentioned recently, that there will be an increased reliance on the AI and automation, as it can help us doing faster analysis by analyzing vast amount of data in almost real time, and it can also identify patterns which I think humans might miss. So this is one. I think another is the quantum computing, and it will have a double-edged impact on cybersecurity. Why? Because quantum computing will both challenge and transform cybersecurity. So I think once into effect, quantum will make the current cryptography methods as obsolete. And I think there's a claim by some Chinese researchers as well that they have broken RSA 2048. So I think that's pretty scary in itself.
No.
Uh, the whole internet will be on stake, right? So
Yeah.
I think the security tech companies, I think they are already working, but they might need to fast track on the post quantum cryptography. Third, I think it's on the integration of cybersecurity into business strategies. Cybersecurity will not be a review function. I think it will become an integral part of the business. That's what I see, at least. And I think because of this remote working setups and the hybrid environment, I think zero trust also will become a norm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you've very clearly mentioned the immediate, the future, both of it. Hitesh, your thoughts?
Yeah, just to add what Mayank mentioned,
Yeah,
absolutely, bang on that. So I'm also looking at a shift happening towards more of a platform approach than the integrated approach from a solution standpoint. So a lot of customers have realized that if you have multiple touch points or components to manage, it becomes very, very complex to get the ROI in terms of investment that they make. So the shift is happening in terms of reducing the component and moving to a more of a platform or a consolidated approach so that there are very fewer components to manage and it is easy to get the best value out of it from an investment standpoint.
right,
Second thing is we are also looking at customers. I mean, I believe strongly that a lot of regulatory guidelines are shaping the future. Like you look at SEBI guidelines, you look at RBI guidelines. Now DPDP is currently on the
yeah,
rise. Everybody's talking about it, right? That is actually coming up with a lot of controls. I mean, guidelines around how should an organization share the data with publicly in terms of externally also, right?
right,
So they are eventually asking the organization who are, coming in that framework to adopt those certain security principles, right?
right,
So while technology transition will happen, like Mike talked about zero trust, where VPNs are completely obsolete now, right? There's a shift happening to the cloud. More and more cloud adoption is currently we see happening. At the same time, we also see regulatory driven decisions also happening, and governments will put very, very tighter controls in terms of sharing the data within the country or outside the country as well. I believe these are some of the key things which we should be seeing happening in next 5 to 10 years down the line.
absolutely. And I think DPDP has to start falling in place. I know, I mean, it
Just a
has its
matter of
own,
time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, just in about time. Absolutely. Great. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I have one last question for Mayank. Mayank, one piece of advice that you would like to give to your fraternity of CISOs and cybersecurity professionals on how they can look at strengthening their organization, cybersecurity posture and resilience, and what would that one piece of advice be?
I think my single piece of advice, is to adopt a proactive, risk-based approach, because it's impossible to, protect against every potential attack.
Yeah,
I think instead organizations can focus on, identify the crown jewels, understand the threat most likely to target them, and build a layered defense to mitigate those risks. I think some other actionable items could be like know your attack surface, then embrace the principle of zero trust, invest or maybe increase the investment on the detection and response part. And I think there was a report published that 80% of the cloud data breaches happened because of the human error. So I think uh, fostering a culture of security awareness for the critical roles is very essential.
absolutely. Great. I think this has been a great conversation, and I'm sure my viewers are going to get very good insights. And right now, I believe it's time to really educate beyond just the tech function and the board. It's for the organization to know what cybersecurity looks like, right? This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me on the mainstream and sharing your valuable insights.
Thank you, Khushbu, for having us here, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Khushbu. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having
Thank you.